but I did miss you guys.
I love being around you guys. I do.
I missed you all too. And,
I love when we're together.
We had the opportunity to talk on Sunday because unfortunately we lost a friend of the show, a very, very friend of ours.
Yes.
And man, prayers and condolences to the entire Lee family, to all of Chicagoland, because I think that Spencer not only truly belonged to his family, but he belonged to Chicago. He was iconic in a lot of ways. We just knew him as Spencer or Spence, but he was a tremendous person, a tremendous friend. I think that each one of us has our own Spencer or Spence story, and he would definitely be missed. But within that, I think that was kind of the impetus for our show topic today, which is facing your own mortality.
For those of you who are not in Chicago and maybe not familiar, Spencer Leak Jr. passed away. He was vice president of A.R. Leak and Sons, which is one of the, or not the largest funeral home
The largest
in Chicago.
One of the biggest in the Midwest.
Yes. So if you're not familiar, that's who we are saying our prayers for his family.
Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely.
But that brought us to facing your own mortality. I mean, the thing that old people used to always tell us was that nobody gets out of this alive.
That's true.
And we try to kind of we make in a lot of cases preparations. We do different things. We work a job so we can retire, so that we can leave something. Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But to really, I think that in our conversations off camera, we were discussing, or we will be getting into discussions on, what about when it's you? How are you looking at that? Or at least that was my takeaway from it. And I don't want to go on and on and on, but I'll let you all chime in.
It's funny that this was spontaneous, guys. We didn't plan this. We didn't know exactly what we were talking about today. And oftentimes we don't know. But today, while I was training, I literally had a thought in my head. I was like, they're like A, B, C, D things that I need to do to make sure that it's in order. Because you think that you have it in order, but the longer you live, the more you find out that there are things that need to be done that you thought was all taken care of. But there's so many loopholes and red tape and other people, just things you just wouldn't even think of that, like at this moment right now, there's some loose ends that I need to tie up. And it made me take pause, right? Like I felt like a little like choked up, like, because, like you said, you work, you create a savings, you get some insurance policies, you do all the things, but those things need to be protected as well.
Right.
And that's the part that I feel like, actually I'm a shout out to social media, because a lot of this I didn't know until people started making reels about it.
I know, right?
So
I see, like, people have been not because of this, not because of Spencer's passing, but because we're at that age now where we have to take care of our own affairs.
Absolutely.
So people have been giving me information. Yeah. So you're right. And to your point, when unexpected death happens to a person that you know, or who has a similar lifestyle to you.
And your age.
Yes, and your age. It does hold up a mirror to your own life, and you start to think, okay, this could be me.
Right.
This could be me. This could be my family grieving. What do I need to do? I need to make my colonoscopy appointments, my mammogram appointments. You start thinking about all these things that you need to do for yourself, because you know that you have people who need you here. So it's a wake up.
Yeah, and even beyond the people that are here that need you, I just wouldn't want to leave a messy situation.
Well,
I want it to be. I don't want it to be 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. No, I don't need that, but I do need things where I can't have stuff like a GoFundMe. I don't want that. I can't have it to where in a very general sense, my wishes are known, and and people are acting in concert for me that are on my team.
Yeah.
And it's you know, I mean, we're younger, we do all kind of stuff. Like thing now, like, well, I'm not gonna skydive because I'm older. But I mean, I readily jumped out of planes. You know, it's like, hey, hold on, I want to go back again. Give me more, give me more. And now,
Would you jump out of a plane now?
not even if you push me.
Taking the door
Well,
with
I'll
you.
say this.
I'm going down with the plane. You know,
I
I'm
wouldn't
trying to
jump
find
out
a
of a
black box. I'm trying to get in there.
I wouldn't jump out of a plane. But it does, sudden death has a way of making you appreciate life more. So for some people it means let me live more fully, I have a newfound zest, let me go and jump out of planes, let me do all the things. And for some people they feel like, okay, let me protect my life. Like life is too precious to toy with. So that's why I asked you.
It's funny that you say that because I've ridden motorcycles now for over 50 years.
I know.
And so within that, you know,
Thank
there
God.
were there were there were different times when we lost a rider or two.
Yeah.
And you know, those people had varying degrees of significance in my life.
Right.
And each time as I got older, I looked at it differently. You know, I mean, there was, you know, selfishly, well, that I wouldn't have done that. That wouldn't be me.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the, you know, wow, I'm not going to do it this hard. And then there was the, you know, I'm not going to ride at night. You know, but as I got older, the list of why I should ride got more and more and more and more. And I mean, in all honesty, I still want another motorcycle, and I'll get one.
I was going to ask you, would you still ride?
Yes, but I would never, you know, I mean, I've done 160 miles an hour on a motorcycle. I just do not care to go that fast anymore.
Please don't give me a heart attack.
No.
With your fun.
No.
But a few years ago, Kim invited me to go roller skating because she was like, "Let's do this. Let's get into this." And I hadn't skated since I was a kid, right? So we went to the skating rink, and you know, in my mind, I'm like, what if I break a bone? What if I fall? You know, all these worries were going through my head, and then
And kayaking.
and kayaking, and Lord have mercy, I must have
No.
worried you to death. But anyhow, we didn't roller skate that day, and I felt like
Not because
we weren't going to. It was just
Right.
out of our control for the most part. That experience with the roller skating place. But anyhow, I felt like it was a sign. I felt like it was a sign that says, you know, you're not supposed to be on these wheels, right?
Okay.
And so I took it as a sign, and I said, you know what? Me not being on these wheels ensures that I'll be able to do the things that I love to do. First of all, I'm not retired yet, and I still have some years to go before I'm retired. So I need my body to work, to train, to do all the things. But I also need my body to golf. I got to continue to win tournaments. So I can't be in a cast with a broken leg. And to your point, like the older you get, the more reserved you might get, and other people may get more like spontaneous and free.
Right.
I'm that person that says, like, you know what? Invite me to the day party because I don't want to be out at night. It's nothing out at night but trouble, and I don't want to be around trouble. So I am that person that's like,
Same.
you know, of course, right.
Shocker.
We'll be on the phone, right? Not at the party, but it's just like I'm just more conscious of what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, and how long it's gonna be. And
playing devil's advocate, are we just not trusting that the universe or God or whatever it is, the higher power that people believe in, are we trusting that it's not going to work out, or should we feel like, you know, like
it's a very good question because I told with is it fear or am I in discernment?
right?
And so I toggle back and forth, and I'm like, okay, God gave me discernment, so I'm using it.
Gave you a brain,
Yeah.
use it.
I'm gonna use it. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna do this wild thing because you know I have no fear. God's got me. I can be wilding out. No.
I definitely have pulled back. I'm sorry. I have definitely pulled back on a lot of, well, like you said, like the motorcycles. When I was younger, I used to, for whatever reason, I seemed to date people who had motorcycles. And I'm always on the back of the motorcycles. And back then they didn't have helmet laws. And
They still don't know that.
get out of here.
No, they don't.
So I was always the girl in the back of the motorcycle, and my father was just like, he would come home and see me pull up on a bike and be like, lose his freaking mind.
Exactly.
And so now you couldn't pay me to get on the back of the motorcycle.
Right.
And when I first started flying, I was always, if I'm going to the ocean, I'm getting in the ocean. If I'm in Honolulu, I'm surfing. I'm getting all up in the water. Now you couldn't pay me to surf. And that was just a few years ago. Because I feel
Sharks.
Oh, okay.
it's sharks. It's because of sharks. I feel like sharks are coming too close
They are.
to the shoreline.
Okay.
They're on the sand, and people are having to drag and toss them back in, and it's too much. And I just feel like I value my life, so I'm way more careful in the things I do.
Yeah.
The fear part is not necessarily with me. I don't want to go through something horrific and actually live.
Right.
Because I don't, I joke with you all the time about the fractions. What do I have that I could do 30% less of? Nothing. I want to have 100% of what I can do, whatever that mark is. I want to keep that as constant or as constant to that as possible. So a lot of it is not necessarily fear. It's just that I fear the living part, not the dying, because nobody gets out of this alive. Everybody dies.
Right. You fear the living,
I fear having something catastrophic happen.
and then you're still alive.
Still alive,
And
But you're dependent on
And
something.
you're a vegetable.
Yeah.
Not even a vegetable. Vegetable, I don't even know. To my knowledge, I wouldn't even know.
There are so many people that we know had motorcycle accidents, and they're
She just went straight to vegetables.
I'm gonna go from 0 to 60.
And you're in the car.
But I want to talk about the roller skating part, because I have a really funny story about roller skating, and I've since retired. But I went skating one night. A friend was like, "Hey, we need to go out to Glenwood. We'll go to the 8 o'clock." I stayed, stayed there till like 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So, no problem. Man, we cool. We doing what we doing. I go home. I lay down. I get up I don't get up. I wake up the next day, and I can't even get out of bed. Every muscle in my body was sore.
Get out of here.
That was the day. That was the day that I retired from roller skating.
When was that?
It had to be 97, 98.
So you didn't even fall though.
No.
Were you doing tricks and stuff, and you just?
I mean, I don't want to put that narrative out here like I'm a really, really good skater.
Okay.
But all of the things that I thought that I did well, I did them, or I attempted them anyway. And the next day, I mean, it hurt to do everything. It hurt to raise up. It hurt to, the only thing that I was successfully able to do was to kind of move my legs over, right myself up, lean on like the desk, kind of fall into the bathroom, use the bathroom. I called into work, laid back down, and I think I had somebody bring me like whatever the strongest legal drug was, like Advil or something, or now leave. But I was like, nah, I'm done with roller skating.
Yeah. So it's a little conservative thought process for you too.
I don't know that I could probably survive that again. And
And that's pretty mild roller skating. You're not even.
But I feel you on the
And
whole
you want to get a motorcycle?
needing people to help you because you have put yourself in a compromising situation that is now permanent. You know what I mean? Well, where maybe your hip doesn't work and you can't ambulate anymore, and now you have the need for someone to push you around. And being on the other side of that, having to care for our parents and my grandparent. The loss of mobility was probably the hardest thing for my grandmother.
Okay.
And this is a woman who did things for herself for 100 years.
It's a loss of freedom. Yeah.
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 Feeling, and it did feel like a prison, I'm sure, to her. Always needing, always
Having to ask.
apologizing,
Oh,
just
yes,
always
yeah.
thinking, overthinking, just and I'm like, oh, you don't have to do that. It's okay, but it's just when you feel like I can't do anything without your assistance, and it could be avoided. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
That's the
wasn't
thing,
something that you had.
right?
You had choices. You could have not done that or done it, and you chose to do it, and we find ourselves.
Yeah,
That's a huge pill to swallow.
Right.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, I agree.
I think that and also in the news was Stacey King, and
yeah.
just the suddenness of it.
Was
And,
it sudden though?
I mean, yeah, because I just saw him on television like before that.
So I didn't know if he was ill or not. I do know that he had more weight on him at this juncture of
Right.
of
That's
his
why I
life
said,
than
was it
ever
sudden?
before.
Because I didn't know him, but he was a huge guy, and he didn't seem to be very healthy looking. So he was always profusely sweating,
Mm-hmm.
and he just was a big guy. Now I don't know. I've never met him. I'm going by only what I have seen on television.
Well,
But
certainly he did not appear outwardly to be leading the most healthy lifestyle, but within that, his personality, his persona was very much alive.
Yeah.
He was larger than life in a lot of ways.
Hot sauce.
He had step back and kiss myself.
Yeah.
Those were his catchphrases.
Oh, okay.
And he dealt with a lot, because coming into the league, he was the 6th overall draft pick. And they thought that, man, the Bulls got him. They thought that he was going to be their successor. Ended up having to have to trade him to get their successor, Luke Longley. So, I mean, it was.
But he was a phenomenal commentator.
Tremendous. But
I mean, like for real, for real.
Even just hanging out with him and talking to him, he was a larger than life personality. What you saw on television was the same person that he was sitting back having a beer, talking some stuff. He loved to talk stuff. He could defend it. He was fair. But the things that he went through was being this high draft pick, going to a team, winning 3 championships your first year out the gate, and then you don't live up to the expectations of who you are. And he could have took that. A lot of people turn that inward, and it becomes very self-destructive behavior. He never let that get him down. And a lot of people, most people would have probably thought were greater, succumbed to something like that. So to see him do that, to know his personality, to know what kind of person that he was, truly a good human, you don't, you don't mark people like that for death. You're like, oh yeah, he'd be around. He won't be around.
Well, I don't know. At this age, I would think that if you are tremendously overweight and it's because of your lifestyle, not because you're on medication or anything like that, you should consider some type of lifestyle modification.
I mean that, and he was married. He had 4 boys, so he, there were definitely some things. He was kind of at the peak of his talents as a broadcaster. His playing days were long over, but you just expected more. And I mean, again,
Well, to the family of Stacey King,
my thoughts and prayers
definitely. My
to
condolences.
the Bulls family. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, without question.
Chicago has had a big hit.
It's been a tough week.
It has been.
He was a Bulls commentator?
He was the Bulls commentator.
Yeah.
He was their television cover analyst.
Oh.
Good guy. I mean, real good guy. He was one of the good guys. And that's not been because he's no longer here. Because some people, somebody tell you they gone, you like, okay.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
But not him. He was one of the good guys for real.
Yeah, but the mortality piece of it all, I just feel like outside of business aspect, being responsible, you just really need to start giving people their flowers while they're alive, right?
Absolutely.
And we say, "I love you" all the time. We say it because we mean it. We do it, right? I think that's important.
Y'all don't see that, but we tell each other I love you after the
right.
Absolutely.
But I feel like it's just important that people adopt that. If you aren't a person who normally says "I love you" to people, but you do love them, just say it because people need to know it. You need to say it. It feels good to say it. And tomorrow isn't promised
To anyone.
to anyone. Like the next second isn't promised. So just do the best you can with the time that you have. That's
That's it right there.
just of it. Yeah.
And when we talk about mortality, I turned 60 last year actually, and it took me like 5 weeks, 6 weeks to be able to say
So
it.
that it's
Really?
Yeah, because it was different. I mean, because
You didn't have 5 years. 10 years of 50.
but you got all these lives for 50. You got all these lives for 40. You 40. I still feel 20. I'm still playing basketball.
so
50, y'all know the line. 50 is the new 30. 50 is
right.
the new 20.
People do say
60, 60.
yeah.
That it ain't no.
It's no half stepping. It's 60. It's 60. I'll be 60 in December, so I hear you.
But when you put it in a perspective, you said that Spencer was young, and that's a fair statement. But when you look at historically, when you've looked at 60, nobody looked at like 60 as young.
Yeah.
60 was like, man, you gotta start getting right with the Lord.
Yeah.
This you ain't long for this. So 60, it was a threshold, and now that I've crossed that, it does make me think more about mortality. It does make me want to do better. It does make me want to live better. and then also it makes me want to, the mortality part of it, I want to have my affairs in order. I don't want to be messy. I don't want to do stuff that
be a burden
yeah
on your loved ones when you leave.
and I mean, God knows I've done enough stuff in my life, so I don't need to do anything else. I can stop right now and be great. So that the 60 plays into the mortality piece because you see things a little bit different. You feel things a little bit different. You look at stuff a little bit different.
I mean, even like me, like I had to think, oh my God, my beneficiary is my mom. My mom hasn't been here since 2020. Like you don't just think like innately.
Right.
First of all, like when you lose someone, it's a lot. Grief takes is own toll. But I mean, a lot of it is like avoidance. You know what I mean? I'm avoiding having to deal with these things. But before you know it, time is just a ticking and rolling by.
Absolutely.
And this business hasn't been taken care of, right? So yeah, it's just the things that you may not think about that just have to be done.
And that's really important because the Wrigley family, they were probably the richest family on earth at one point in time. And the father died, and everything went to the mom, and the estate tax was 50%. The mother died 6 months later, and the estate tax is 50% again. So now they're left. I think there were like 4 kids, PK another. But there were 4 kids that were dividing 25% of what was 100% a year ago.
Because
they hadn't planned, they hadn't set up shelters, they hadn't self-directed. You see a lot of people now, really, really rich people, will go ahead and give you the money while they're living. The taxation is different. There are different ways that you can do it. And, they want to see you enjoy it, or, I'm going to give you this 10 million so I can see if I can give you 100 million.
People are pre-purchasing plots for themselves and writing their own obituaries. So
but
planning is definitely
that planning. But I mean, they lost, 75% of the value of their estate in less than a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anywhere that you go where there's money, there's a Wrigley Mansion. If you go to Lake Geneva, there's a Wrigley Mansion. This is so crazy. If you go to Palm Springs, there's a Wrigley Mansion. If you go to Hollywood, there's a Wrigley Mansion. And if you go to Pasadena, but
does
Palm
the state
Springs
still own it, or is it just the name of it?
Well, one of the houses you actually know. If you've ever seen the Rose Bowl parade, the house that they take off from, that's the Wrigley Mansion. That's a Wrigley Mansion.
Okay.
If you've ever paid attention in Lake Geneva, There's this beautiful yellow brick 3-story house.
But I mean, her question: do they own it, or is it just named after?
Everything had to go at some point. They're just named after them,
Okay,
you know.
they're monuments basically.
Right, they had to sell the Cubs for that reason.
So let me just say, when I spoke of earlier, a sudden death, holding up of a person that we know that's our age, holding up a mirror to ourselves and our lifestyles. Because when you look at a person who shares a similar lifestyle to you, and then they're there and you're hugging them and like, hey, you know, what's happening? You see them and their wife and their kids and blah blah blah. You're like, oh, so cute. And then one person is taken out of the frame. All of a sudden, everybody is like, oh my gosh, your world is rocked. Whether you knew them, ever met them, or whatever, most people, you know, your world is rocked. Now, that's mortality. Morbidity is sickness. So when I see a person who is my age and they look unhealthy, or I know that they're unhealthy because they have some type of chronic disease or whatever, and then they're taken out of the picture, I'm sad, but there's no relatability. So when I'm wondering, was it the same for you when the passing of Stacey King? Did you feel? You said, I guess maybe it was. I don't want to answer the question for you because was it the same for you? I didn't know him, but you seemed surprised. I was not, because I don't watch professional sports on by and large on television intentionally, unless I'm in the room with people who are watching it, then I'm going to sit down and watch it, like a snippet or something. So I've never seen him like in full broadcast mode. Obviously, I didn't know he was a Bulls commentator. I had no idea, but I've seen him. So for me, he's not a friend or an acquaintance. He's just a person that I would see here and there on television. So when I would see him, he looked massively unhealthy to me. So that's why I wasn't, when I saw it online that he passed away, I was like, oh, well, you know, I wasn't shocked. There was no surprise. Whereas when Spencer passed, I was wildly surprised. And it wasn't just because I knew him. And it's not just because I've been in his house with, you know, his kids and celebrating, you know, and all that kind of. It wasn't that. It was because our lifestyles were parallel. And I'm not saying that he's a gym guy and all that, but he was a normal weight, height, similar groups and lifestyles, similar social circles and things like that. So that was more of a shock to me.
Okay.
So did you feel like that?
With Stacey, I was shocked, you know, and I never really paid attention. I certainly realized that he was, you know, a larger human than he had been in his playing days, but I never would say that I probably characterized that as being unhealthy. And maybe I should have, you know, maybe there's some different alternative path if we, you know, whatever. But I never did that. With Spencer, I was shocked for a lot of obvious reasons. One that, you know, man, I know this guy. I saw this guy. You know, but I mean, it goes beyond just going to college. I've known Spencer since we were kids.
You didn't know Stacey like that?
No, Stacey, you know, and I didn't know Stacey contextually, like, you know,
I didn't know.
like he's in my phone or anything. But we happen to share the same spaces on a number of occasions.
Okay.
And but I wouldn't characterize myself as like that was my boy or anything like that.
But he had such a presence on television that you just feel like he was in your home. But you don't watch basketball like that. But you watch them.
Even in person, he was that jovial, laughing, joking, talking a lot of stuff sort of guy. And he wasn't, you know, I mean, a lot of people assumed that he was soft, and he wasn't.
Why? Because he was big?
Well, because he was a jovial, you know, they always
because he always joked.
They always thought he was jokey.
Okay.
And he wasn't the world's toughest guy by any stretch of the imagination. But he wasn't a punk either. You know, he wasn't scary. He was the same person he was on television. was the same person he was. He was talking stuff. He was laughing. He was joking, and he wasn't doing it backing up. He was standing
Yeah.
there flat footed and saying what he felt, and he always was like that.
Yeah. But I mean, I understand your point that you didn't feel the relatability
No.
because you're like, we're clearly different.
Yeah.
We have two very different lifestyles, so I get that. But when it comes to someone who's, our age, and Stacy was actually the same age, right?
Yeah.
He was young, and I just felt like, wow, that so much life left to live,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel that way. But obviously, God has the final word, and when we're born, we have a day that we're gonna expire and leave. So we feel like it was too short. It's never enough time, but that's for everybody. My grandmother was 106, and in my mind, like it wasn't enough time. But she was like, "It's been enough time, right?"
I could have gave me one
Right.
10. It wouldn't have hurt.
You just that's what love is, though.
So when I see, this is another example. There is a person on who was on Instagram. He's a very popular um, Instagram person who always made reels like hanging off of a cliff or standing on top of like the world's tallest buildings in Dubai.
Some dangerous stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very dangerous. And he would scale something illegally or get up there some way and then sit or dangle with one toe and have this selfie stick, and he would have that and make these crazy reels and just for likes. Well, he slipped and he died, of course. And I don't remember what country it happened in, but everybody was just like, well, he died doing something that he wanted to do, and blah blah blah. But was there a surprise? No, because I just kind of feel like if you're
It was
going to,
bound to happen.
yeah, if you're
Finally.
if
Right.
you're going to live your life dangerously and then you die like that, or if you're riding motorcycles and you're popping wheelies at 180 miles an hour,
Right.
you skid off the road and you die. No one's surprised. So
Let me answer your question though a different way. I do this all the time. When I hear about someone that's under 60 or 60 or under and they die, there's always a level of shock. Like, well, what happened? How did they die?
absolutely, you start to ask questions.
And then
But does it make you think about your own mortality?
It definitely does. I mean, I would like to believe that anything that I encounter that's tragic, I'm trying to get some part of that. That
Okay.
where's the how not to in this for me?
Okay.
So yes, that always exists,
Okay.
or I would like to believe that it always exists. But when I hear that someone died, and I mean, invariably it'd be like, well, were they sick? And then once you exhaust all of those questions and you don't get any affirmation, then it's always like, well, were they overweight? But in the instance that you hear it, I'm always still shocked, no matter what type of lifestyle somebody might
Right.
lead.
I don't feel I don't anything doesn't make me question my own mortality. When I hear about a young person doing something stupid, and I'm using the word that you don't like, but it is stupid to do things to risk your life just for likes, for the gram. And when I hear about that or read about it and then they pass away, I'm like, well, it's not really shocking. And I keep scrolling. It's too bad for their family and whatever. But when I see a young person who's been shot and killed unexpectedly or whatever, it doesn't make me think about my ability, it makes me think about my kids.
Yeah, you
Like,
protect your own.
yes, like, oh my goodness, then I send it to Stephen and Sloan because I want them to see them. Don't be over here on this side of town. Don't do this or whatever this person did. You make sure you do the opposite. So it makes me think about their mortality. But when I see people like Spencer, like I said, who we're in the same social circles around the same, checking the same age bracket on the tax form, it does hold up a mirror and say, you know what, this could happen to any one of us. It could happen. It makes me embrace life. It makes me thankful for people. It makes me like when that happened, I made a reel and and talking about it. And then I was calling folks I love you.
Right.
And I love your hair, and I love your eyelashes, and like, I love your big toe. It's just so pretty. I was just telling people, I was texting folks, and I love you, and if I ever need this, yeah.
It shook me for like probably about 4 days. I'm just really getting to the point where I could start to
Same.
function at about 70% because I'm
Same.
still, man. I mean, Monday I was a mess. I was dragging. Tuesday I was dragging.
Yeah.
Wednesday I was, I had to move, so I was moving around. Thursday, I distracted myself, and then Friday now we're here. So now, but I'm still at 70% because it just took a lot out of me. He was such a good, special person.
Yes.
I felt the same way. I couldn't even post, about winning the golf tournament. I couldn't post. I just felt like I just wasn't in a place to do that.
Right.
I felt like I was just mourning, and just grieving.
And it opened up another can of worms because a lot of people were, I guess Spencer belonged to a lot of people, so everybody wanted to express their grief in their own way. And some of it wasn't necessarily respectful as it could have been or should have been to the family.
I heard about that.
And it was, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
And, everybody.
I hate that for his family.
Yeah, everybody wanted to attach, themselves to it, and they were tagging them, and then there was there was never, there still hasn't been an official statement in terms of what happened and all of that. It's not really people's business, honestly.
We don't need to know that.
But within that, people were, and people were well-meaning. They were like, they were posting pictures and tagging them in it or tagging the funeral home, not realizing that you re-grieve the family every time that you do that. You re-grieve all of those people that are in your circle, that are in his circle, that get your algorithm. And, it was just sad. Plus,
they did put out a statement asking people to stop.
Yeah, they did.
So, because when I made a reel, I tagged Spencer's personal page, but I untagged him.
Yeah, I mean, you came back and did the right thing, but people were outrageous before it was even really truly confirmed. People were acting like, let me get a first to Facebook, trophy.
I know. I was disgusted. I saw that. I was disgusted.
And it was like, wow, it's just, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
It is. Well, we can talk about this all night. Sure.
But I think, we should wrap it up, but I think we have some action items, actually, for ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's just a level of responsibility that we owe ourselves and the people that we leave behind, not to have to do so much, making sure that what we are, thinking that we're doing, we're actually doing. It's done.
And
at least I do.
Ideally, that's how it should work. You should recognize that there's a problem, and you should know that there's some things that we can do different and better.
Yep.
And we can seek different outcomes. Hopefully, you don't look at the same thing. What? Let's go on and just run this one back.
Yep.
So
for sure. Well, good chat, good talk, good topic.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, please leave your comments. If we missed something, we talked about a lot, but I mean, if something that, needs to be talked about or you want to share, please do. And we'll look at it and maybe we'll revisit it again on another episode. But certainly, thank you for tuning in. And I love you guys.
Love you too.
Yep.
Follow us on TikTok,
Please.
Conversations Overheard. And we will, a few people have texted me and asked me when is the next
in person.
Yeah.
I've got
a
question too.
So we'll keep you posted. Summer is a lot going on, graduations, trunk parties.
It won't be in June. I can tell you that.
It will not. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night. I won't dance because it's serious.
It's not in your contract.
She won't dance on air, but I promise you, she will be.
I will be doing
boogie, boogie, boogie.
I'm gonna be doing the Running Man with the full window.
Boogie, boogie, boogie. Does that say finish?
Yes, that is finished.